Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Power of Positive Leadership. My name is Jessica Roshak, and we are excited to be able to chat with you about this topic today out of the Kent State Leadership Center. So before we go any further, we did want to just do a quick introduction. So again, my name is Jessica Roshak. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director of Student Leadership Development and Fraternity and Sorority Life.
Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Corley. I also use she, her pronouns, and my title is Graduate Assistant for Student Leadership Development here at Kent State.
So we were really excited to be able to talk about this topic because we feel pretty passionately about it. Recently, we've noticed that we're not seeing a ton of positive leadership because everyone is, quite frankly, burnt out from the events that have ensued over the last year and a half. And so we have a little bit of a purpose statement for you, if you will, because we want to reiterate the importance of positive leadership. So we chose to discuss this topic today, first because we live in a society that's so focused on results. We're very achievement driven. And so when we're thinking about what the success of our organizations or the success of groups looks like, many times it's focused on our to-do lists. We're not thinking about the people within our organizations. We're thinking about the tasks at hand. We're thinking about if we can get all of these things done or we have all of these accomplishments, that's what makes our organization better than the next. And so we want to flip that a little bit and think about it in terms of people and positivity and how people are feeling within your organization. Yes, checking off your to-do list is very satisfying. I, of all people, understand that because I do it every day, but that shouldn't be the sole focus of our organizations. We've also noticed that there's been a shift from inspiring one another to do good towards compliance and achievement of material things. So if we have 100 people that attend an event, or we have all of our organization members are following our policies and our rules, we see that as success. Or, thinking about material things like awards. If you're winning awards for organization excellence, that's one of the ones that we give out at our student leadership awards every year. Yes, that's great. And we want you to look great on paper and we want you to do really great things. But how are your members feeling connected to your organization? Are they feeling connected to your leadership? Those are the things that we're going to talk about today so that we can measure our success in terms of those sorts of things in addition to others. And so what we're going to do is we're going to challenge you to use what you've learned today and figure out how you can put people first and processes second. Again, we have things that we have to do. We have to-do lists, we have processes, we have events that we have to host, and that is great. We want you to see those things be successful. But we also want you to figure out how can you put people first and lead with that positivity so that people feel connected to you as a leader and your organization. So how we're going to do that, we're going to talk first about your energy and your attitude. We're going to learn about how your energy and what you're bringing to the table can affect those people around you. We're also going to talk about some of the benefits of positive leadership. It definitely takes more effort and more time to lead with positivity, especially in challenging times or when you're not feeling your best. So we want to talk about what you're going to gain, what that return on investment is going to be for you. We're also going to talk about what positive leadership is not. So we aren't going to say that everything is always going to be wonderful and happy, shiny, rainbow, sunshine, because that's not reality. It's certainly not the world that we've been living in and the climate that we're facing in higher education today with our student organizations. And so we're going to talk about some pitfalls and some things to avoid. And then we're going to end by developing some strategies. So what we want you to do is walk away with some tangible ideas and how you're going to practice positive leadership within your own organization. So if we were in person, we'd be doing a little bit of a pair and share right now and talking about what comes to mind when we say positive leadership. And so when we were putting this presentation together, Haley and I kind of brainstormed a few things. So what we anticipate people would say would be leaders that are empathetic, somebody that understands who I am and my emotions and can be there with me. People that make you feel good. When we think of positivity, we want to be around people that are positive, that have that kind of energy that you want to bring to the table, that are really excited to be there and you feel like are excited to see you. Somebody that shows up. So positivity, being there, being at the events, being at the meetings, physically being there does do a lot to lead with positivity from an executive board or a president. And then I think a big thing that we'll hear is that people want someone that they feel cares about them, somebody that is invested in their success. And so we'll talk a little bit about how some of these things will play into it. But if we had to anticipate what some of the things are coming to your mind right now, those would be it.
So we are going to kick it off by talking about how energy and attitude play into this concept of positive leadership and how modifying your energy and attitude can really lead to overall positive interactions within your student organizations and within your leadership. So we're going to watch a video first, and I want you to keep in mind while watching this video how the people in this video are influenced by those around them.
A moment ago, we made this volunteer believe she sunk a pair of blindfolded free throws, when earlier, with no blindfold, she missed 10 in a row. How will she do her second time at the line, now that she thinks she nailed those blindfolded buckets?
Oh, close! So close, so close. That's number one. All right, keep it going, keep it going. Oh!
She's definitely getting closer, but no baskets yet.
You got this, you got this, you got this. Oh, you.
Wow. By making her think she sank those blindfolded shots, and by cheering and giving her positive reinforcement, it's almost like we hacked her self-confidence and got her to believe more in her natural abilities. In fact, out of 10 shots this time around, she ended up making 4. Quite an improvement. But what if one of our volunteers was already good at basketball? Whoa, this guy's got game. He made a whopping 9 shots from the line. Think there's anything we could do to make him worse?
Okay, so let's have you take one shot. All right? You think you can do it, guys? All right, Josh, let's give it a shot. 3, 2, 1. Not quite, but it's all right. Let's let him try a second time. It's a tough one. All right. Wow. Let's give it a shot, Josh. All right. All right. Well, look, the man is blind. Okay. Let's go ahead and take off the blindfold. So listen, it wasn't as easy as we thought, but let's have you do your 10 throws again without the blindfold. Okay. Just do your thing. 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. Okay. Let's see. You guys got his A game on? Come on, Josh. Whoa. All right, Josh. You got this, man. You got this. All right, that's 2.
Remember, this guy made 9 free throws earlier, but now it looks like the crowd's negative reinforcement is throwing him off his game.
So while that may seem like such a silly concept, throwing basketballs and cheering or booing, that concept really overall shows what can happen within a student organization or what can happen in peer-to-peer interaction when we're either positively reinforcing each other or negatively reinforcing each other. So you saw from the first woman, she wasn't naturally good at basketball, but the more that the crowd cheered for her, they made her believe in herself and took away some of that feeling of being watched or feelings of, nervousness, and gave her the confidence she needed to make a few free throws from the line. Conversely, our man at the end, who was really good at basketball before, after being booed and having negative comments said to him, he had a harder time making those free throws later. And the same concept can be applied to our relationship. So if you're in a student organization, or you're in a leadership situation and you are being negative to those around you, it can take those feelings, it can take those things that maybe you're good at and make you not be as positive or not have feelings of confidence because so many people are being down around you. The same thing goes for positivity. So if you have a positive attitude, as shown in this graphic, others around you will start to notice your attitude and then potentially and hopefully will become inspired by your outlook and start to emulate that positivity as well. And when all of us are working together and all of us are being positive, we can really motivate each other to work towards that common goal of success that Jessica talked about earlier. So we're going to go ahead, and if we were in person, again, we do a parent share, and I'm going to share an example of how this can look in a student organization. This is from personal experience. In my undergraduate, I was in a student organization that had a lot of events that had time commitments. So we would have to show up to meetings, show up to retreats. We'd have to show up to a lot of different types of events. And what I noticed is when leadership or like our executive board, president, so on, would be negative and verbalize not wanting to be at these events, it was more likely that our organization, all of our members would not want to be at those events or would look at those events like a true time commitment instead of a blessing that we all get to be together and we all get to have fun and we chose to do this. So on the flip side, if our leadership would have started talking about that situation more positively, or would have shared excitement, like, it's so great we get to be together, we're going to have so much fun doing X, Y, and Z. It would have motivated each other to really start to look forward to those events rather than thinking about them in such a negative light.
So we've talked a little bit about what positive leadership can look like and how you can emulate those things, but why is this important? You know, how is this going to benefit your student organization or your group? So let's talk with what you can be doing. You know, we've given you some examples, we've seen that video, but what could this look like for you? You know, the first thing that you could do is invest in your members. You know, when people feel like you truly care about them, they'll care more about the organization and they're going to strive to do whatever they can to remain loyal and to see your goals achieved. People want to feel like you are going to help them grow personally, grow professionally, and like you're invested in their success. They're going to look at you in turn as a positive leader. It also ties into that next idea of being role model. You know, if you can role model that positivity, if you can be the person that's excited to be there, that shows up, that can be positive even amidst challenging situations, you know, that can be really something that speaks into your membership. And I don't want you to think that this means when things get tough that you have to be super and cheery, because that's not necessarily what positive leadership looks like. But it could be, you know, role modeling that idea of not dwelling in the negativity. It's really easy to have a situation, come up against a challenge and just sit there and be like, you know, I don't really know what we're going to do next. This stinks. And yes, the situation might stink. It might be challenging. And certainly in the pandemic, we've had many situations that come up that make us think that. But if we can say, you know, I don't know what our next step is going to be, but I'm really excited at the future and how we can overcome those challenges. Being positive, even if you're not sure of what's coming next, can really do a lot for your membership to keep them motivated. You also want to be the person that brings energy to your meetings, because enthusiasm is contagious. This sounds so silly, but it's so true. You know, Haley mentioned earlier that she was in a situation in undergrad where people didn't necessarily want to be at the events. They didn't want to be at the meetings. And when your leadership looks like that, and you can tell that people don't want to be there, you don't want to be there either. On the flip side, when you show up to an event and you see the people that are really excited to be there, they're welcoming you in, they're excited about the things that they're doing, no matter what it is, it's easy to get invested in that. And you're going to be enthusiastic about it too. You know, when people show their passions and you can see what they love and what they like, you're going to be invested at least to some degree, even if it's not something you're interested in. We also think the positive leadership, you can inspire hope for the future and your shared vision. Not only do we need to have that positive outlook right now, but we need to have that for the future. This has been especially important during the pandemic when we don't know what the next step is and things could change day to day. You have that shared vision, you want to put that out there for your student organization and for your members to kind of have something to latch on to, and you want to show that hope. You might not know what's coming next. You may have a lot of challenges that you can foresee ahead, but if you can continue to inspire that hope and to say, yes, we're going to get over these challenges together. It'll be okay. We'll figure this out together as we go along. I think that's going to go a long way for your members. Additionally, we can celebrate wins, both big and small, and this can be really tough when times are not going according to your plan. I know this can be challenging for me, but if you have things that are going well, celebrate that. So for example, if you were at Blast Off this last week and you met a lot of really great people, celebrate that win. Celebrate the fact that you were there, it was in person, you had a table, and you made some connections with potential members. On the flip side of that, if you have something like a member that got an internship, that's great. That's wonderful. If you have somebody that has been nominated for an award on campus because of the amazing things that your student organization is doing, celebrate that. Even if that person doesn't win the award or your organization doesn't win the award, you were nominated. People noticed you. Celebrate those wins, even though it may feel like something small. So we do want to talk a little bit about what positive leadership is not. And I've alluded to this a little bit earlier, but positive leadership is not telling people what they want to hear so that everybody remains happy. That's being fake. That's putting up a front, and it's not going to last. It may be like a Band-Aid, right? We put it over, it helps for a little bit, but it's not going to contribute to the success of your organization overall if you're not being open and honest and transparent. So yes, we want people to be happy in our organizations, but we also want to be realistic. We want to be transparent with everyone. So just telling them what they want to hear so that they can kind of go on their way and you can have a good event or a good meeting. It's going to work for the moment, perhaps, but it's not going to, again, contribute to the long-term success of your organization. We also don't want you to lead a team blindly with no regard to individual experiences of members. Each person in your organization is a unique being. They have different identities that intersect, that they hold dear. And so you have to understand how challenges and how even positive outcomes can affect people in different ways. If you have somebody that has been planning an event, let's use this example. They've been planning an event. They've been really stressed out about it because they have a million things going on, but it was successful because you had 100 people show up. That's great. And of course, they want to hear about how well their event went. But if you completely ignore the individual experience of that person, they're not necessarily going to have that positive experience. They may not want to plan the next event. Heck, they might not want to come to the next event if we completely ignore the stress that they were under or how their individual identity contributed to them being, in a difficult situation leading up to that program or event. Similarly, we don't want to ignore the obstacles that you've overcome or come up against and how those affect your teammates and your members. So of course, we want you to be able to have people be hopeful for the future, but we can't just say, oh, it's going to be okay. Don't worry, Haley, we're going to move forward. Well, what if Haley has all of these things that she's dealing with? What if she has some family situations going on, or if she's got a million things that she's juggling with school? You never really know what people are experiencing. And, especially during COVID, the pandemic has affected people in so many different ways, whether it be their racial identity, it be their socioeconomic status, whatever it is, we can't ignore those obstacles and just say, it's going to be okay. Our organization will survive the pandemic. I really hope that it does. And there are strategies that we can help you with to make sure that happens, but we can't ignore those individual experiences. We need to make sure that when we're being hopeful, we're exercising critical hope and not, just kind of putting on rose-colored glasses and moving forward. So what are some of the benefits of doing all this? We've talked about what it looks like, what it's not, but why should you do this? Let's get down to that. First and foremost, positive leadership unlocks human potential and inspires others to remain engaged, focused, and motivated. We talked about this many times before, but when people feel like you're investing in them, they invest in you and they invest in your organization. So the best thing that you can do to help move your organization forward is invest in those people, get to know them, understand what those identities are that they hold true. Why are they here and what do they want to gain out of that? If you can be positive and you can invest in those people, they're going to stay motivated even in chaotic times. They're going to be engaged. They're going to want people to be a part of this wonderful organization that you have. So you want to unlock that human potential and capitalize on that. It also creates a sense of belonging in a group, leading to the retention and overall effectiveness of a team. In order to keep our organizations moving forward, we have to bring in new members, no matter how many that may be, and no matter how your organization operates. You need people to make these things happen. And so people flock to positive leaders. They flock towards people that have that passion, that have that energy and the enthusiasm for the things that they're doing. So if you can be a positive leader, it's going to help with recruiting people, but it's also going to help with retaining them, keeping them around and keeping them engaged and focused on your student organization. And then finally, it's going to help people understand their strengths and how to maximize them, as well as give them the grit needed to overcome those challenges. So if you can celebrate those small wins, you can recognize the people in your organization for the things that they're doing really well, they're going to see that and they're going to be able to continue to build on those skills. And then on the flip side of that, when you come to challenges, if you can have that outlook, you can say, I'm not sure what our next step is, but I'm excited to move forward. Or yes, we've come up against an obstacle, but let's create a plan to move forward. Those are the things that are going to help your student organization members to get that grit, to have that kind of internal motivation that, yes, we're going to be able to make the most of this and we're going to move forward. Those are the benefits of positive leadership. It's investing in the humans in your organization so that they can invest in you. So why is this important? We're going to watch a little bit of this video by Simon Sinek, and he's going to share a little bit about why, when leaders make you feel safe and they make you feel good, why the investment is worth it. So we're going to watch about 6 minutes of this video.
There's a man by the name of Captain William Swenson, who recently was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions on September 8th, 2009. On that day, a column of American and Afghan troops were making their way through a part of Afghanistan to help protect a group of government officials, a group of Afghan government officials who'd be meeting with some local village elders. The column came under ambush and was surrounded on 3 sides. And amongst many other things, Captain Swenson was recognized for running into live fire to rescue the wounded and pull out the dead. One of the people he rescued was a sergeant, and he and a comrade were making their way to a medevac helicopter. And what was remarkable about this day is, by sheer coincidence, one of the medevac medics happened to have a GoPro camera on his helmet and captured the whole scene on camera. It shows Captain Swenson and his comrade bringing this wounded soldier who'd received a gunshot to the neck. They put him in the helicopter, and then you see Captain Swenson bend over and give him a kiss before he turns around to rescue more. I saw this and I thought to myself, where do people like that come from? What is that? That is some deep, deep emotion when you would want to do that. There's a love there. And I want to know, why is it that I don't have people that I work with like that? In the military, they give medals to people who are willing to sacrifice themselves so that others may gain. In business, we give bonuses to people who are willing to sacrifice others so that we may gain. Right? So I asked myself, where do people like this come from? And my initial conclusion was that they're just better people. That's why they're attracted to the military. These better people are attracted to this concept of service. But that's completely wrong. What I learned is that it's the environment. And if you get the environment right, every single one of us has the capacity to do these remarkable things. And more importantly, others have that capacity too. I've had the great honor of getting to meet some of these who we would call heroes, who've put themselves and put their lives at risk to save others. And I asked them, why would you do it? Why did you do it? And they all say the same thing, because they would have done it for me. It's this deep sense of trust and cooperation. So trust and cooperation are really important here. The problem with concepts of trust and cooperation is that they are feelings, they're not instructions. I can't simply say to you, trust me, and you will. I can't simply instruct two people to cooperate, and they will. It's not how it works, it's a feeling. So where does that feeling come from? If you go back 50,000 years to the Paleolithic era, to the early days of Homo sapien, what we find is that the world was filled with danger. All of these forces working very, very hard to kill us. Nothing personal. Whether it was the weather, lack of resources, maybe a saber-toothed tiger, all of these things working to reduce our lifespan. And so we evolved into social animals, where we live together and work together in what I call a circle of safety, inside the tribe, where we felt like we belonged. And when we felt safe amongst our own, the natural reaction was trust and cooperation. There are inherent benefits to this. It means I can fall asleep at night and trust that someone from within my tribe will watch for danger. If we don't trust each other, if I don't trust you, that means you won't watch for danger. Bad system of survival. The modern day is exactly the same thing. The world is filled with danger, things that are trying to frustrate our lives or reduce our success, reduce our opportunity for success. It could be the ups and downs of an economy, the uncertainty of the stock market. It could be a new technology that renders your business model obsolete overnight. Or it could be your competition that is sometimes trying to kill you. It's sometimes trying to put you out of business, but at the very minimum is working hard to frustrate your growth and steal your business from you. We have no control over these forces. These are a constant and they're not going away. The only variable are the conditions inside the organization. And that's where leadership matters, because it's the leader that sets the tone. When a leader makes the choice to put the safety and lives of the people inside the organization first, to sacrifice their comforts and sacrifice the tangible results so that the people remain and feel safe and feel like they belong, remarkable things happen. I was flying on a trip and I was witness to an incident where a passenger attempted to board before their number was called. And I watched the gate agent treat this man like he had broken the law, like a criminal. He was yelled at for attempting to board one group too soon. So I said something. I said, why do you have to treat us like cattle? Why can't you treat us like human beings? And this is exactly what she said to me. She said, sir, if I don't follow the rules, I could get in trouble or lose my job. All she was telling me is that she doesn't feel safe. All she was telling me is that she doesn't trust her leaders. The reason we like flying Southwest Airlines is not because they necessarily hire better people, it's because they don't fear their leaders. You see, if the conditions are wrong, we're forced to expend our own time and energy to protect ourselves from each other. And that inherently weakens the organization. When we feel safe inside the organization, we will naturally combine our talents and our strengths and work tirelessly to face the dangers outside and seize the opportunities.
So let's talk a little bit about what we heard in that video. Some of the things that stood out to me was when he kept saying that the conditions within the organization are what we have control over. And I think that's a great sentiment to this idea of positive leadership. You don't have control over everything and you don't have control over everyone, but you do have control over you and your outlook. And so it can be tough, to shift that perspective and unlock that capacity. But if we can do that, you're going to be able to lead a group more effectively. Something he also talked about was that, we're talking about feelings. We're not talking about instructions. And so earlier I talked about that compliance or your to-do lists. That's not what we're talking about here. Yes, some of those things are important, but what we want to talk about is how you're making your organization feel. What does it look like within that kind of safe bubble that he has written there? Yes, there are things going on externally. There are going to be some challenges that you have to overcome and some obstacles that you come up against. You don't have control over those things though, but you can plan accordingly and create that environment that's going to unlock that human potential so that you can come together, lead with that positivity, and lead your organization to new heights. That's something that I hope that you take away from this presentation, is that you have control over you and your attitude, and that can in turn influence people in positive and negative ways. So we want you to really figure out how can you lead with that positivity, and Haley's going to talk a little bit about what that could look like for you.
So you may be sitting there thinking, well, where do I start? If you are telling me to be more positive, if you're saying I should be more positive in my leadership position, it can be really hard, especially with what Jessica was saying earlier about how much is going on in the world. It can be hard for us to reshape our mindset to be more positive. So we do have a resource for you all, and it's called the 11-Day Stay Positive Action Plan. I'm a big fan of action plans because they give you tangible things that you can start to do and start to implement to achieve that goal. So in this one, if you'll scroll down, Jess, this plan gives you 11 days worth of items, ideas to implement more positivity into your life. So you'll see example, day 1 says take a thank you walk. So a simple way to start to think about who you're thankful for and think about actually thanking those people. Day 2 focuses on gratitude. So again, thinking about what are we thankful for? How can we be people who recognize that gratitude, and then also how to implement that into our life. Day 3 focuses on smiles and laughter. So finding a funny video or reading a joke, just asking a friend the best joke that they've heard. It could sound so silly, but you might make their day, and you might have a conversation that's so centered around positivity that you would not have had unless it was intentional. Day 4 is to celebrate your success of the day. So incorporating, looking at the positives and maybe those small wins. Spending time with positive people, sharing a gift of kindness, stop and smelling the roses, so taking time to be more intentional in your day. Taking out your telescope. So this one might sound a little goofy, but you don't have to physically take out a telescope to create that big picture vision. So we're talking about more so looking at the vision of the future that we talked about earlier, and in a sense taking out our telescope. So looking at the future, what is our vision and how can we incorporate that into our leadership position, and how can we be more positive about that vision? A gratitude visit. So losing yourself in a moment. So giving yourself that chance to just be positive and enjoy what's going on. Being a coach, going back to that role mentoring or that role modeling and mentoring aspect of being positive in your leadership position. So all of those are tangible things, and they give you some examples in there and some further resources if you need help finding how to be more intentional. But those things can be incorporated into your day, and they might only take 5 minutes. So that's our suggestion on how to start being positive, because if you start being positive in your day-to-day life, it'll have that effect that we talked about earlier, and it'll radiate into those that you're around in your leadership positions. So what can you do to lead with positivity? So Jessica and I both, obviously, if we were in a large group, we'd be polling our audience, but we both have 2 very different tangible things that we plan to do to start leading with more positivity. So mine is going back to that personal positivity. So thinking about what I can do in my personal life and looking at my own individualistic scenarios in a more positive way to hopefully inspire others around me to be more positive as well.
And for me, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the times have not been tough. They have been challenging. Haley can attest to that. And I know that I am not always the most positive person. And so this is something that I'm challenging myself to do. And I think the one takeaway that I'm going to do that I'm going to start right after this presentation is beginning to celebrate those small and big wins. In a day, it can be really easy to focus on those negative things that happen. And I'm very guilty of that. And so something I'm going to try and do is celebrate those small wins. Did I get to go have lunch with a coworker, or did I get my to-do list done for the day? Did I get to have a really meaningful connection with a colleague or a student? Those are the things that I'm going to try and focus on and lead with that positivity and celebrate those small wins.
So before we let you go, we are going to share a few of our upcoming workshops. So obviously today we talked about the power of positive leadership, but we know not everything's always positive. So our next workshop is going to look at conflict resolution and how understanding conflict and understanding how to resolve conflict in a positive manner can really improve those leadership situations. So it's titled, Why Can't We Be Friends? It's next Wednesday, September 15th at 6 p.m. in the Leadership Center. But again, if you can't attend in person or you don't feel comfortable, we will have a virtual option for you as well. And then we are debuting a new program next Thursday on the 16th at 5 p.m. in the Leadership Center. It's called the Leadership Challenge, and it tests communication, problem solving, and collaboration through a team-oriented leadership challenge. So find 4 to 6 people, bring them to the Leadership Center with you, and compete for some fun prizes and compete against other teams to learn more about leadership. And then our first Kent Talks of the semester is going to be on September 20th at 6 p.m. in the Leadership Center again. Kent Talks is a forum for the Kent State community to express their thoughts and feelings about today's issues. So we basically bring people together, teach each other how to have constructive conversations when maybe our experiences might differ. So our topic for our first Kent Talks is race in America, and we hope to see you there. And then lastly, we do a program called Lessons in Leadership, which is an interview style Instagram live Q&A. And our next Lessons in Leadership will be Thursday, October 7th, and they will live on our Instagram page. So if you didn't get a chance to come to our last Lessons in Leadership, you can go ahead onto Kent State Leads on Instagram and check it out. We last week interviewed Dr. Hilton, and our upcoming one on October 7th will feature Erica Showoff and Sydney Jordan, who are with the Care Center in the Dean of Students office. And they will talk to us all about that experience as well as their leadership experiences leading up to their positions now. And if you are interested in learning more about events, please sign up for our biweekly newsletter. We put all of those flyers in as well as resources around the campus community. And then also we want to hear from you. So this is our last thing. We hope that you will take this knowledge from this workshop today and implement it into your lives and into your leadership positions. And we hope that you learned a lot from this experience. But please share with us your thoughts, your feelings. We really do take a look at your feedback and try to implement it for our future workshops. So you can scan that QR code and let us know how we did today. It should only take a few minutes, and we really appreciate the feedback. And again, if you have questions, please follow us on social media. We post all of our events and all of our resources that we have available to our community. So it's at Kent State Leads, or lead@kent.edu is our email. Got a little splice there. There's also our phone number if you ever want to call, or our website to check out some of our fun offerings online.